Hey, thanks for joining us for this episode of This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. Our guest today, John Murray with Enstructure and Jaxport Cargo Sales Director Alberto Cabrera. The topic is how Jaxport is growing as a gateway to Florida and the Southeast, specific to auto logistics. I saw a news release about this. I'm like, boy, that's really, I want to know more. So John, let's start with you. And maybe the big picture here. What makes Jacksonville a good place for Enstructure to grow its business in? And by way of talking about that, tell us about Enstructure.
Sure, absolutely. So Enstructure is a multi-terminal logistics provider. So we provide bulk, break bulk, liquid, container services across our 22 terminal network in the U.S. We are privately owned. We've been in business for many years under different historical names, but now we're in Enstructure across the network. And Jacksonville and Jaxport are strategically located. So because of great highway and rail access, because of the great port infrastructure and the service providers that are here, it's an epicenter for transportation. And so Enstructure is part of that supply chain and logistics service. And we're here because we know there's a need to be met, and we're attractive to both domestic and global shippers. And we offer what they're looking for, and those needs need to be met. And with the growth in the Southeast, as well as across the other regions, Enstructure's got pretty much a footprint anywhere the cargo is moving into or out of the United States.
Yeah, Alberto, I'd love for you to lean in on that, and maybe about the relationship with Enstructure, but also just what John mentioned about the strategic location and why Jaxport meets so many of those needs.
Well, yes, the interesting part of the automotive business that we have in Jacksonville is due to a strategic location that we have. So we are the closest port to the highest population of Florida that has enough land to land vehicles. So, you can land containers everywhere and stack them up, and your footprint is marginal. When
Is
you
that
bring
different with autos?
With autos, you have to park them just like you're parking them in a parking garage, or not a parking garage, excuse me, like in a mall or anywhere else. So when you unload 2,000 vehicles off of one ship, you have to have a place for those things to go. And the reason why the auto manufacturers will choose the northeast location of Jacksonville is because of the close proximity to the populations that are buying these vehicles. Central Florida, South Florida, we know there's a lot of vehicles that are sold. That's the epicenter of the population for Florida, is in South Florida, Central Florida. So we can easily reach that market with a 5 to 6 hour, 7 hour truck drive. But as far as a strategic partner, Jaxport, we're a very diversified port. I think you had one of my colleagues on here recently, and you talked about how diversified we are, and automotive is definitely one of the areas of business that we will continue to strive in. Enstructure is a partner. We don't operate our terminals. Enstructure does. We keep the facilities maintained. Our job in this community is to provide jobs, to be an economic engine. So we're stewards of the actual terminals, keeping the seawalls up, the water depths correct. These guys are the experts when it comes to handling cargo, and they handle every type of cargo out there, which makes my life easier when we're out marketing it, knowing that I have a partner. I say, hey, we have an opportunity for this, and they step it up, and they said we can do it.
Well, either or both of you lean into this component. I know that there's some growth that's happening at the port and in this particular space. And how does that really impact Jacksonville's economy, or Northeast Florida, Southeast Georgia?
So there's been a lot of growth across many different cargo types, to include autos. By having a strategic partnership, the real partnership with Jaxport, it afforded us, there's auto logistics has a certain unique set of requirements. You need to have the deep water. You've got to have the great highway and rail connectivity. Like you said, you have to have the land. And because of that partnership with Jaxport, it afforded us the ability to get into this market. We knew it was a market that we could meet with our industry expertise. And so we decided, hey, this is something we want to get into. But what that means for Jacksonville economy is that we've now got a new service provider, a new service offering for the automotive manufacturers, the roll-on, roll-off shippers, the heavy equipment shippers. So as we provide a service solution here in Jacksonville with partnership with Jaxport, those people want to come to Jacksonville. They can get into the southeast region, they can get into South Florida, they can go all the way up to North Carolina, they can go as far as Tennessee and Alabama because, again, you got highway and rail access. So the impact to the economy is we're bringing more business, we're bringing more cargo, more attractive to global shippers. We're continuing to promote Jaxport and Jacksonville as a location where, hey, if I'm shipping something from all the way across the globe, I've got a place where I can do it. There's trust there, there's infrastructure, there's investment, there's the people, the labor, there's the equipment that you need, there's the service providers. So it's going to mean that Jacksonville is going to continue to grow, the economy is going to continue to have jobs, you're going to have, we're going to continue to be competitive on a global presence.
Alberto, and I'm curious about that. What is the competition? There are other ports who say, no, we're better at this than Jacksonville. Come to Savannah or somewhere, right?
Yeah, there's ports nearby that they're northern ports that can handle the volume of vehicles, but we're all running out of space. So it's becoming a play on how well you can manage the business that you have, and so we've been stepping our customer service game up, and that's where, again, a partner like Enstructure, who tends to the customer, these customers have a great relationship with them and the port, and they know they can trust us when they have certain cargoes that need to move quickly. I mean, we move radiation portals for X-ray machines, for proton therapy machines. Yeah. I mean, this is delicate stuff, and it's heavy. It's big, it's heavy. These guys are the expert at it.
Yeah, we've got to handle it safely, efficiently, and it has to be from an end-to-end solution. We may have one component and piece of it, but shippers are putting together an entire A to B, C to D, all the way to Z solution, and being part of that requires partnership and requires the ability to do it and the expertise. And having this combination of all these different resources and requirements here in Jacksonville makes a big difference, and that's why we're competitive, and that's why we're going to continue to grow.
You know, for each of you, as I understand it, both of you have a bit of a background in railways, railroads. That's got to be helpful to maybe even marketing, the part of, hey, when you come into the port of Jacksonville, we got plenty of ways to get your products where they need to go.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because we're very proud of the Talleyrand facility. It is a facility that connects to 2 Class 1 railroads, which is pretty unique on the East Coast. It serves the Enstructure facility. It also serves one of our Puerto Rico carriers, and we're all about logistics. We used to call it back in the day trucking. Now it's logistics, and we move things all different types of ways. But to get our, we're all being very conscious of our global footprint, and the rail is a more sensitive way of moving a larger quantity of containers, automobiles. So, and we have really good partnership with our connecting railroad into the Talleyrand facility. Mm-hmm. So they're taking advantage of it. Enstructure has, and with John's background, we've been able to even expand even more on it. Him and I have worked on a couple of projects along with a Puerto Rico carrier of moving a great amount of cargo via rail. It also, when we talk about how does this impact our community? We talk about the jobs and the indirect jobs. So the railroads are busy. If we're busy, if we make them busy, they're busy. If we bring in more cars, these truck drivers that are moving these cars up and down I-95, down I-4, they're busy too.
Sounds like a cascading effect.
It is. Right? It is.
I'd like to touch on something that Alberto mentioned. So carbon footprint, it's always talked about. Shippers coming from other countries track their carbon footprint of moving their goods into the country to the final destination, or vice versa going out. Because we have on-dock rail services in Jacksonville, we've actually been able to attract a new business, multiple businesses in shipping with customers who would otherwise moved it by truck or gone to a different port. So right now we're actually going to be receiving 390 something containers this week of greenhouse parts, and they're going to be moving off the vessel to the railroad and then being taken by rail all the way to Tennessee. And then there's going to be about 7 acres of greenhouses constructed. And they're going to grow green leafy vegetables. But moving these all the way from Europe to Jacksonville to Tennessee, that's a carbon footprint that they wanted to track and be able to report out, hey, we were able to do this and our carbon footprint was X. Now, if you had to move everything by truck, that carbon footprint would probably be greater. But because we have on-dock rail, we've got the partnership with Jaxport, the rail connectivity, we were able to say, hey, this is your one-stop shop. And it's going to be happening this week.
Does it change the value when you're looking at measuring what that carbon footprint is because of on-dock services there with the rail?
Yeah, so there's certain credits or there's certain thresholds that they're trying to meet with their zero emission goals. So when you're looking at one modal solution versus the other, and your carbon footprint's a critical component to that, where you're going to pick something that's going to help you get there.
Yeah. So as we're talking through this, one of the things that captured my attention hearing about this was, there are different types of cargo, obviously, that are being handled at Jaxport. Why is that kind of diversification important?
I think we've touched on this before, but I've worked for the port for many, many years, and I kept hearing that phrase, let's be as diversified as possible. And you just say, okay, well, yeah, I think we should be. But then when you see it during the pandemic, that was something none of us experienced, none of us knew how to handle. Yeah. We did not have a playbook on how to manage through a pandemic. So having a diversified port showed us some business units could not operate in a situation like that. Others kept going. So I guess what I'm trying to say is being diversified, when one car goes down, the other one might get up, be more steady than the other. It's not having all your eggs in one basket, is what we like to say. And it also widens your reach to the customers that are out there shipping their goods and services. They know you can handle just about anything, whether it's in a container or if they have to do it in another form of break bulk. Break bulk's, it's not the... Maybe
define that phrase for
Yeah,
us.
I was going to say
for a guy who's not in the industry like me.
Break bulk isn't anything that's not in a container, so you're going to lift it off a ship with a crane, and it's usually going to, or palletized, or a rolled, we do an enormous amount of rolled paper that goes into our newsprint magazine print here. It comes from Finland. It goes through their warehouse. We've been doing that for about 20 years now.
Yeah, wood pulp that goes into your tissues, your paper towels, your bathroom tissue. That's all break bulk. So it's a homogeneous cargo in the vessel. It's the historical 100 plus, 200, 300 year plus way of moving cargo in a vessel. You pull it out. It's typically all the same cargo or similar cargoes that can be moved in the same vessel. It's not like a pick and pack. You've got 40 different types of cargoes in boxes inside a container. It's all wood pulp or all rolls, or it's steel, or it's lumber or plywood. And so break bulk is that traditional historical before containers were invented. That's the way of shipping. And
educational to me. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate that.
It's great to use vernacular and acronyms, but happy to help. Yeah, but break bulk is a way that products move all over the world, and especially when you're moving a lot of it in one way and in one vessel to one destination. And vessels move in milk runs, so they may come from Europe, hit northern ports, and then come down to Jacksonville, drop off a certain amount of tonnage, and then it'll go around to the Gulf, and then spin down to Mexico or South America, and then go back to origin, bringing cargo that way. So that's how our vessels typically traffic. They follow those lanes, and they'll hit different ports as they go. But it's kind of behind the curtain. People don't realize that when you go to the shelf, I'm going to get some paper towels. Where did it come from? Well, it came from Jacksonville, and it came right through our Jaxport and went to the paper tissue mill, and then was finished there and sent to our Publixes and our Costco's and every other store that's out there.
And if you missed this earlier when we started the episode, this is John Murray from Enstructure. Alberto Cabrera is from Jaxport as we talk through this. John, I'm curious, what's the long-term vision for what Enstructure does at the Jacksonville port?
So I think from a long-term perspective, we're investing in the infrastructure. we're investing in the services that we have to offer the shipping community, not only domestically but globally as well. We constantly have meetings with customers talking about their future plans, what they need to be able to bring cargo in, how they're going to do it, what does that look like, and how can we partner with them to assure that they have the capacity and the ability to move cargo when they need to move it, get it into a container, a rail car, or a truck. And what does that mean for Enstructure and Jaxport? Well, it means we have to prepare for the future for that cargo. So we're going to continue to grow. The auto business is one of those segments that we're entering into. It's the right market for us to grow into. So we're going to be putting in auto body and paint shops to facilitate those vehicles being prepped to go to market. We're going to have the yard space, which is critical to be able to receive them off the vessels. In addition to that, we're going to increase our rail access, our rail capacity. And then that also means that we can then say, hey, if you're shipping lumber or you're shipping a heavy piece of equipment or steel or paper or whatever it is, we're going to have the yard capacity, we're going to have the warehouse capacity. We're building additional warehouses. We're investing in our equipment.
Sounds exciting. I'm
Yep,
assuming what you're
it's a
talking
lot.
about. We're investing, we're building, we're improving. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I
you're
just
great.
got excited.
I mean, and I think that what's a critical thing for your audience is we're investing in our people. We're making sure we have jobs that require skills, that that have a great work environment, a safe work environment. But when they show up, they're not doing just the same thing over and over again. They're touching lots of different cargoes. It's interesting, and they're part of not only a regional or domestic supply chain, but a global supply chain. So when they come to work, they're facilitating the movement of goods and the growth of the country and the infrastructure of the country. And it's a neat thing to see your employees proud of what they're doing and proud of the partnership and the things that we're able to do.
Yeah. Alberto, why don't you make sure that we talk about the vision of the port. And we've heard over these last several years the impact that there would be of deepening the harbor and all these sorts of things. But we're actually seeing the growth that was forecast years ago, right?
We are, and I've been living through most of that, and it's an amazing journey that the port has gone through. We did need to deepen the channel for our Asian cargoes. Those vessels that are coming are drafting a lot more water than they were, 10, 15 years ago. We got that part done. So that along with that comes infrastructure. So when you dig deeper, well, your seawalls need to get rebuilt. So it's a constant upgrading of your terminal. Even with John talking about the infrastructure that they're putting into the Talleyrand terminal, there's need for more additional rail. There's going to be some conveyor systems for bulk.
Additional warehouse.
So we got to figure out where do we put all of this in our terminal so that it works for the next 15 to 20 years. So, a lot of studying, a lot of engineering. It's easy to sell something, and I'm the sales guy, so I go out and sell something, and then our engineers just look at me and cringe. They're like, "You did what? How are we going to do that?"
What did you tell them?
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's always the job of the engineers to find the solution. But no, we constantly have to keep our eye on our terminals, what the capabilities are. Life cycles. There's life cycles to cranes, equipment, warehouses. So I mean, we've encountered this already with our partners. Hey, the useful life of that roof is X years, and it's coming up. So how do we plan? How do we plan for the new roof? How do we plan for a new warehouse? How do we help them help us? So it's a really nice relationship when you can sit in the room with one of your tenants and hash it out. And that's what Jaxport really wants to do with all of our tenants is how do we make you grow? We're not a Fortune 500 company. We're stewards of this city. So how do we make this grow for the people of this city? Their success is really what we're looking for.
John, I'll ask you, and then Alberto, I'll give you kind of last word on this. But what's the most exciting thing about this project for you personally, and what the viewers, the listeners we have on our podcast today, what's the thing you want them to take away from our conversation today?
So I think the most exciting thing for me and for the company is to be able to enter into a new segment and to offer services to the automotive shippers that look to Jacksonville for solutions. We're part of a network of independent service providers, a great group of companies that help our shipping community support Puerto Rico, support the Southeast, support the greater Southeast market and U.S. domestic market. But not only are we working independently, we work in partnerships, and having the partnerships between the companies that are located here in Jacksonville and regionally, and making Jacksonville successful because we're attractive to global shippers, being part of that solution and that solution and services based here in Jacksonville, and being able to say, you can come to Jacksonville, you've got lots of different options, we're competitive, we're safe, we've got great people, we're investing in the future, our doors are open, the lights are on, and being able to sell that message and actually see the cargo come across the dock or go across the dock into a vessel and see it happening live, and then planning for the future and planning for that growth and knowing that it's going to come and we're going to be successful and continue to grow and bring jobs to Jacksonville and grow the current infrastructure. That's what's exciting. That's what's exciting about this industry. And the listeners, when they hear about supply chain, it's a buzzword, but there's a lot that goes into that buzzword, and it's neat to be able to describe it and show it and make it real, from a concept to reality and some sustainability.
Yeah, and back to the comments earlier about what happened in pandemics, like, ooh, now I need to know more about the supply chain, right, because I need to know.
Where am I going to get my paper towels?
Yes, all of those things. Alberto, why don't you wrap us up? Same kind of question here. What are you excited about, and what do you want people to know as they listen to our conversation today?
I'd really like for the community to know that we're here for them. This is the Jacksonville Port Authority is their port authority. And what's really exciting about having a partner like the Enstructure Group is that it's like a new tool in your toolbox. I mean, so they're operating on an asset that we've had for many years. And we saw that asset in its highest days and its lowest days. And they've taken it over and they have turned that asset around, which is super exciting. We know the potential of that facility, and they saw it too, and they ran with it. They took over that facility. They signed a long-term agreement with us, and they have really done an outstanding job of creating even more out of it than we expected it. So venturing into the automotive industry is a new one for them. We're supporting it. We'd love for our automotive customers out there to have options in Jacksonville, and that's what we're continuing to provide them. Is here's another option. If you don't like this option, or
you need more.
You need more, which
space.
is usually that's what's really coming down to, is we need more operators to do this. The state is constantly, the population just keeps going up, and unfortunately people wreck cars, so they have to replace them.
Or they get old.
Some companies, some would say, unfortunately,
or they're getting a
some
little old. It's
companies-
nice to get into that new car. I'm probably due for the one as well. But no, it's great, and thank you for having us.
Yeah,
but,
we appreciate you having
it's a cool
us.
story to share.
Yeah, it is. That's what we need more of, these great stories to share with people. So John Murray from Enstructure and Alberto Cabrera from the Jaxport and the Cargo Sales Director, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, your insights, and sharing with everybody what's going on at the port. And thank you so much for joining us on This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. Wherever you find your podcasts, like, subscribe, and follow. New episodes come out every Thursday at 9 a.m.